I was wondering if you could talk a little bit about your journey across the Atlantic and what you encountered on the sea and the places that you traveled to, and about your experience about, creating these heroic feats and how you deal with fear and overcoming that.
Okay. First, let me tell you, the reason I got into rafting was because I couldn't pay the rent. It's true that I just couldn't pay the rent. The landlords had hounded me and my family. We just about get caught up, and then we would be behind. It was an awful situation. So I started building rafts and living on the rivers and waters, and it was great. I raised, 5 great kids. They're all successful because we were able to get out of the rent. So I took it as a way of life. Then my wife and I decided, this lovely lady here in the center, she and I decided we want to take on the North Atlantic. She's a great sailor. She's the power behind the entity. So we started building rafts, and we finally understood a triangle, which is float, go, and stop. Those are the 3 elements we have to deal with: floating, going, and stopping. So after about 5 years, we put together the Center Town Hall, and the Coast Guard really dogged us. They wouldn't let us leave New York City. Finally, we got an inspection. We were able to leave the city, and we snuck out of Maine, Bath, Maine, early one morning during the fog. And we got so far out that they didn't bother us. And it took us 100 days to get to Ireland. The first storm that showed up, I thought, I must be crazy. And my wife was freaking out too. Like, here we are out in the Atlantic and on this raft, and I was in the helm, and I went up, I was looking straight down. I thought, my God, we're going to pitch bowl. And she settled down and she rowed beautifully. And Ed Gary, who was with us, a crew member, he said, no, she does it, she'll do it. And she took us through all kinds of storms and frightful conditions, but we felt very secure in her because she would float, go, and stop. There was nothing that we couldn't handle with her. When we got to Ireland, the Irish were crazy about it. They wouldn't let us buy a Guinness or a meal. There was open house all over. Then we went to France. France was the same way. Then we crossed France, across the Mediterranean.
For nature, yeah. How long is it going to take to get to check?
Sundance Coffee at 20th and 3rd Street. The artist group Neighborhood Public Radio is broadcasting live, and what they do is they're able to enter the airways in the static in between channels, and they broadcast within a couple-mile radius of where they're stationed. So they're stationed in the coffee shop in the corner, and today they're interviewing artists and interviewing community members, so you can check in on that and perhaps get on air. Also, right below Sundance Coffee Shop is Silverman Gallery, and in the entrance and funneling into the space is a mural made by Malik Sanefru, who we have here with us. This mural is in search of a permanent home. It's just temporarily at Silverman Gallery right now, but it's going to have an audio component where when you walk by the mural, sound is activated, and there's going to be poems and songs in the permanent installation of it. So we're looking for a permanent home on 3rd Street for this mural, so if anybody has any ideas, you can speak to Malik about that. And also on Sundance Coffee Shop, you'll see the beginning of the poetry installation. There are stanzas of poems that were made by Game Spitters Collective, who we have members of here on the bus today. The first poem at Sundance is by Damani Adkins. And so you'll see the last stanza of her poem, which she has agreed to read for us on the bus today. Yes. They go now or when we get back on?
When we get back on.
I want to read mine now.
Not down. They're each going to read their poems as we pass by the sites. So you can take a look at Damani's poem, and when we get back on,
I'm reading it.
when we get back on.
I'm reading.
Now?
When we get back on.
When we get back on, okay. And I wanted to let you know that they're all here. And you have your catalogs. All of the poems are published in a catalog, and if you want to get their autographs, they're available for that. And then, down at the end of 20th Street is Noonan Building, which is housing a temporary exhibition of Daniel Cheek's new photographs off 3rd Street. Daniel Cheek is a photographer who's worked in Benicia and Martinez, photographing mostly residential areas where industry is encroaching. So you'll see quotidian life, daily life, but with these oil refineries in the background. And so he does a lot of this environmental landscape photography. And he has documented sites along 3rd Street, sites of redevelopment, beautiful parks, and you'll get the chance to see it then. It's kind of a maze. You just follow the signs. It's down at the end of 20th, and then there'll be a sign to go into the building. And then once you get in, it's a little bit of a labyrinth as well, but I'm sure you'll find it and enjoy that. So the bus is actually going to be, so you want to check out Sundance at 20th, and then at 20th and 3rd, and then go make your way down to the Noonan Building, and the bus will be waiting there at 4:15. Okay?
So once again, for the listening public, this is 88.9 Neighborhood Public Radio, and we're here live with Simon from the 3rd Street Gym. He's going to teach Wiz and Katina how to box. If you're interested in boxing, you ought to get your ass on down to the corner of 3rd and 20th and come witness the beauty that will be Wiz and Katina beating the shit out of each other.
Well, if they got big boobs, it can be an issue, but you can wear boob protectors, you know?
Do they have boob protectors?
They do, yeah.
I didn't know that.
They for females to do. They're optional. You don't have to wear them, but you can wear them.
Interesting. What are they made out of?
It's a foam covering with sort of a hard plastic outer shell, so
Right.
you know, it gives some protection.
Protection from impact.
Yeah.
Interesting.
No, I was reading about head injuries and like soccer players, because they head the ball, they have found that soccer players, professional soccer players, do ultimately get some kind of brain damage. But like boxing is most extreme because of the damage that boxers are inflicting on themselves. Professional boxers, they pee blood for like 3 days after the fight or something, and there's all that kind of dementia that happens from boxing. So it's a pretty hardcore sport, isn't it, Simon?
You said it. It is. You know?
How long have you been boxing for, Simon?
10 years.
Have you peed blood a lot?
No, I've never been beaten that badly, but that can happen for sure.
Okay. All right. Then how about you, sir? You punched anyone lately?
Curatorial.